Good morning from the second age of reason. I am here today to state the obvious. Those of us who are middle-aged know quite well the obvious, but I know there's been, amongst the Occupy Wall Street, one of their complaints has been about impossible student loans and how hard finances are for young people. And this is likely to be true. But I think the young people have made certain assumptions in error and assumed certain things would be certain ways, and they're not. And I'm going to explain to you a few things that might open your eyes. Well, I guess if you're an older person like me, that's not that surprising. But for a young person, here's some things you have to know. You have the impression that you could go to college, get a degree, and that meant you could get a good job. And that is partly true. This is the trouble. Things are only partly true. But getting the good job is also a matter of time and space, being in the right place at the right time and knowing the right person. And it all has to come together. But there's something else that goes beyond it. Okay, so you go to college, you get your education, you get your degree, and you apply for jobs. And you wonder why the job is not manifesting itself. Why is that? You thought, I got my 4-year degree, I've got my master's, but you also had a student loan. So maybe $10,000, $20,000, $50,000, $100,000 student loan. And the idea is you got to get this job so you can pay the loan off. The trouble is, employers look at financial records. When you apply for a job, many employers will do a credit check on you. And if they see that you have lots of debt, and if the debt is late or your credit rating is low, you're not going to have as good a chance of getting hired. They will use that against you. Financial institutions never forgive and they never forget, especially with student loans. You can't declare bankruptcy on student loans. They've changed the law, so you couldn't. Okay, so if you're late on your student loan, or if it's just big, an employer looks at your credit rating, you're not going to be able to get a job. Then, because you don't have this job to pay the student loan payments, your credit rating is going to get worse and worse. And I've found this out kind of like from helping young people, and also they would complain that, well, they got a dumb little job doing some crummy work for minimum wage, and they get their check, and they go to the check cashing place and they charge like 10% to cash a check. 10% of that's like another 10% tax. What's with that? Hey, shouldn't you just go and get yourself a bank account or a checking account? Would help. But here's another gotcha. If you have, like, your loan is late, or if you've written a check in the past that was an overdraft and didn't take care of all the fees, the banks never forget that. And it's not only the bank you're at, all the banks never forget that. And the only people that will take care of you then are those predatory loan places. So it behooves you to make sure your financial things are in order when you get into the job market. Because with the young person we were helping, until the financial and whatever deal was with the other bank they were with was resolved to everybody's satisfaction, they could not get a bank account, they could not get a checking account, nobody would take them. And the other thing is, employers look at that as well, because they will want to deposit electronically your check into a checking account. And if you're just doing payday loan shops, you don't have a real account to be electronically deposited into, employers don't want you. Another employer I worked for, clearly in the employee handbook and on the job application, it said to save money in administration, we do not do anything with garnishment of wages. If you have a judgment against you and it requires garnishment of wages, the company simply said, we will fire you, period, the end. Because we're not going to deal with garnishments or any of the administration that goes with that. So that's another strike against you for getting a job. These are things that sometimes they may not be knocking at your door constantly, but they never go away. They're haunting the cloud of finance around you, and employers see this. And so this is probably one of the aspects of the great disappointment is so many have gotten these student loans, and then it put them in a financial bind, and they're expecting to get a job when employers have a high standard for employees in regards to their financial management skills. Now, there's another thing that's with employers, is a lot of them don't want to hire you unless you are already gainfully employed. In fact, I've talked to recruiters who said they only want somebody who's well employed and happy in their job, while most people who are looking for jobs are unhappy with their job, and so that makes the market even tighter or harder to get into, because they only want you if you're already in a well-paying good job and happy at it. So that's something to bear in mind as well, because that's one of the criteria that the recruiters are using to look for you. So if you're unemployed, or if you're unhappy and you're talking down the current company you're with, that's not good. Those will not help you get a job. So I just thought I would mention that, because I know it's been coming up a lot, and I wonder how many out there of these recent graduated students with their student loans have been wondering, why is nobody hiring me? Why is this not working? I have payments to have to come up with, and I can't declare bankruptcy, and okay, so that's just to keep that in mind when you're out there. Now, if you don't like that situation, I think you're going to have to work through your representatives and tell them that you want to have the laws changed to permit you to get some financial freedom. And you have to lay it out and explain it and articulate it well, because they're not going to know what you want unless you tell them. This is the way it works. And you know what? The banks and loan organizations certainly are telling them as well, and that's why you cannot declare bankruptcy on a student loan, is because the banks and loan agencies have been talking to the government and you haven't. So please get engaged and talk to your representative, talk to your senator, deal in your state, because states also have some control in that area as well. So that's my advice for today. So that's it for now. Be seeing ya.